And I Quote is bringing you expert-to-expert advice and insights. Our thought-provoking conversations with insurance industry professionals will inspire and educate our listeners on the latest trends and hot topics.
Let's move our industry forward together. The And I Quote podcast is brought to you by Coterie Insurance. Coterie is simplifying the way agents work with small business.
Now let's get started. Welcome to the And I Quote podcast. I'm Ashley Burden, one of the co-hosts, and I'm really excited today to chat with our guest, John Barfield of Bracefield. And we're excited to just kind of have him on the podcast today. We've worked with Coterie and been a partner of ours for quite some time now. So really excited just to jump into the discussion and learn a little bit more about your experience and networking and just industry knowledge that you can share with our audience. So I'll hand it over to you, John. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Ashley. I've been waiting to get on this podcast for a while now. I'm glad to be here, and yeah, we love Coterie as a partner. I'll give you a little background on myself. This is my 36th year in the business. I started when I was 17 years old, right out of high school. I was one of those kids that was not the smartest kid in the class, but I was very hungry for what I wanted in life. So many of us start off this business just wanting a job. We never intend to be in the insurance business 36 years later. And then in it was 1998, I had the opportunity to join Bracefield. And so since 2015, I've been leading our office, and I have the privilege of working with every day with 55 of our teammates, and it's quite special to be able to do that. So that's a brief snippet of where I started and where I am now.
Awesome. I love that. And I think it's really cool. You kind of honed in on something that I love about insurance is that you can really go in so many different directions with insurance. Like you don't necessarily have to be, in the field all the time. You can be in marketing, you can be in very IT, as you mentioned, like various different areas of the business, but all really incredible, areas that you can really gain a ton of expertise. So to anyone listening who's out there like curious about insurance, you can have some fun with insurance. It's definitely a lot different, especially now in modern times where you can really, take it in so many different directions. So I love that you honed in on that. And something you mentioned made me think about community, because I think that's really where we want to focus our conversation today. You're really involved in the industry and just the insurance community. So how did you get involved, whether it was networking or just kind of putting yourself out there? What steps did you take to really get involved?
Well, the big thing for me was, knowing that, I kind of realized a little while ago that in order to be able to you got to put yourself out there. Yeah. So, social media is a great place, LinkedIn especially, to put yourself out there, to connect with individuals, to brand yourself, to brand your company. For me, more lately, I've been doing a lot more videos because, someone told me, you got to really start doing that. I was very much apprehensive to do that because I hate my voice. I hate my, self on camera. Sure. And they said, you know what? People don't really care about that. They want to just tune in to see what you have to say, to hear what you have to say. And they're not really necessarily judging you and your voice and everything else. And I think so many people don't get involved in that because of that very reason. They're worried about how people will take them on camera and everything else. And I'm here to tell you, don't worry about it. Yeah. Jump in with both feet and just start. I can tell you the first videos and posts that I did in the early days, when I go back and look at them, it was pretty terrible. And if I had looked at it back then, I probably wouldn't have continued. But I think with anybody, you get experience, and the more experience you get, the more you just run to it. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've done. And it's a fun thing for me to do. I dedicate a certain period of my day to doing that, to engaging with our agents, and even fellow insurance competitors. Sure. I believe in being friends with everybody. And I think that has served me well over the years.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I think it just speaks to, you don't have to be perfect to start. You just, you start somewhere, but I think it's really building upon, the expertise that you have and knowing that, you have something that someone else is probably looking for, insights
Mhm.
and information and everything that you can really share. And so I love that that's something that you actually spend part of your day doing. That's incredible. And so with that, like what would you say sets, not only your business in the day to day with Bracefield, but then also just your expertise, what sets you apart really in this industry?
Well, I think from our company perspective, I think we're a wholesaler,
Hmm.
so our customer is the retail agent,
Sure.
and I think for us, we work hard every day to put together the right products.
Hmm.
So my responsibility is to make sure that I am reaching out to our carrier partners and making sure that I'm getting the right ones for my team to sell.
Okay.
So that's super important to me. But I think the big thing is just the diversity of product that we have at
Hmm.
Bracefield. Whereas a wholesaler, you traditionally think of a wholesaler as excess and surplus lines,
Sure.
and
Hmm.
we do admitted and non-admitted. So we work with both sides of the house,
Hmm.
and that gives us more of a well-rounded
Yeah.
picture to offer that agent.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what we do. That's what makes us different
Hmm.
from other wholesalers that are out there, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's definitely a unique value proposition. Do you find that there's like an education that's necessary? Like maybe if it's an agency or that's just coming on with Bracefield, is there, sort of that learning curve that comes along with that?
Sure. We hold hands a lot.
Yeah.
We have there are a lot of agencies out there, and this is what we talk about a lot. So there are a lot of agencies out there that are personal lines only agents.
Hmm. Yeah, I know.
And the reason, so we talk about when we visit them, what's a percentage of your business that's personal lines versus commercial lines?
Hmm.
And, usually we'll kind of get an answer of, well, I might write 10% commercial.
Sure.
And then my next question is, well, how much of that is not commercial auto?
Hmm.
And then of course that percentage now goes, well, maybe 2% of my business is not personal lines and not commercial auto. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Hmm.
The biggest thing that we talk to them about is commercial is not a black box.
Right.
It's not something you should be scared about.
Hmm.
It's something that, if you remember the days when you wrote your first homeowner's policy, how difficult it was, how nervous you were. And really, when you think about that, this is no different.
Right.
By the time you write your third general liability policy, you're old hat.
Hmm.
You know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing, yeah.
It's our responsibility as at Bracefield to make sure that we are holding their hands. We're
Hmm.
talking to them about the things that they don't understand and really telling them it's going to be okay. You can, here are the things that you need to be thinking about when you go out and try to sell this to the customer, but get started.
Yes. Get started. I love that. And it is, I think that's something, we see here at Coterie as well, where it's that, initial maybe apprehension if they're just kind of dipping a toe into commercial, but it's like, get started and really figuring out, where maybe niching down and what that looks like, but just getting started with commercial. So with that, obviously we have partnered together, Bracefield and Coterie. So what led you to that? What led you to, kind of think about Coterie as a potential partner? And obviously now we've grown the partnership. What has led to that for you?
Sure. Well, I think what led to it and what keeps it going are two different things. What led
Mhm.
to it was really just, our company embraced that type of business early on.
Mhm.
And so once you kind of go through that, I think a lot of wholesalers they don't want to embrace that sure tech
Sure.
but we embraced it long ago. What keeps it going and what keeps it growing is really the ease of use.
Mhm.
Coterie is super easy for our agents to use. Just a few bits of information, and the system takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And that's really where the magic happens.
Yeah.
And that's what when we go out and we tell agents, hey, try it.
Try it. Yeah.
You'll like it.
Hmm.
And sure enough, they do, and they like it, and we keep growing, and so we're super happy about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's likewise, I'm definitely appreciative of the partnership. Do you find that agents are ever of the vein that this is almost too easy? Does it ever come up?
Every now and again,
Yeah.
they think that they're missing something, when it's that
Hmm.
easy,
Hmm.
what's going on behind the scenes that
Sure.
we're missing, and we tell them, no, it's just technology's come a long way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yep.
things behind the scenes that data that's out there that they
Hmm.
can, pull on, and that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think it's that education piece, but making sure that, and the market is clear, like, there's the tech piece. We never forget about that, but then there's also still that those insurance brains, they built their underwriting engines and all of that really comes together to make it so simplistic of a tool. So I love that that's, recognized in the industry and definitely strengthens, the partnership that we have. Um, and that actually leads me to another question when you're thinking about, someone might be just getting started out, whether it's just in commercial or just the insurance industry as a whole. It can seem sort of overwhelming. So, do you have like any suggestions on just kind of making it simpler to understand and simpler to just really like get your feet wet in the insurance space?
Be patient.
I like that.
Patience is a virtue.
Hmm.
When we talk to all of the new folks new teammates that we bring on, and the one thing that we hire based on is personality. And you've got to fit personality wise, drive. The rest of it we can teach,
Yeah.
and we tell people that every day. So I
Hmm.
think for me, the big thing is really having the conversation up front and putting their mind at ease and saying, listen, you have to obviously you have to have an aptitude to learn, but you have to have that attitude that you want to learn.
Hmm.
And the rest of it, this is not rocket science
Yeah.
here. I mean, it's insurance.
Hmm.
And while we have to make sure that we are, that we're following the right footsteps in terms of, knowing the policy forms and things like that.
Hmm.
But the rest of it just kind of comes.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree with that 100%. Like I said, even just personally being sort of newer in the industry, there's so much that you can learn. And if you have the right people kind of leading the charge and being a mentor to you, I think it's really easy to, pick up things and really take off and run with it. So I love that you shared that. Um, Kind of thinking a little bit forward, I love to ask like, kind of forward thinking questions. So, there's so many buzzwords you hear now, obviously data technology, AI. But from your perspective, having been in the industry for some time, what do you think is the potential disruptor, if you will, for insurance right now? Like, is there anything that comes to mind for you?
Well, I think the only thing that, kind of comes to mind when we talk about, yeah, certainly in the property space,
Hmm.
obviously catastrophe events
Yeah.
can be a disruptor.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that, that's the big thing that we think about, each and every day. I think, there's a, we also talk about, the technology, I think, is not a disruptor. I think technology's an enabler.
Mhm.
I think we're always going to have retail agents out there. I just saw an article recently about that. I
Mhm.
think for many many years, people have talked about, is the independent agent going to go away? Is technology going to come in and take the agent off the map? And this article was talking about, yeah, absolutely no.
Mhm.
It's not going to happen. I think you're always going to have that agent, that customer. The customer is going to want to have that agent.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, I think certain pieces and parts of the industry will change, but I,
Mhm.
I, I think it's not going to be as uh, people should not fear it
Right. I agree.
and worry about it every single day.
Mhm.
I think we should worry about what we can control, the things we can't control. And I know it's hard. It's easier
Mhm.
said than done, but
Mhm.
let's just worry about getting on with it and doing what we can, and making sure that if things are changing, that we observe that
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. I think, and I definitely agree, it's spot on with in terms of thinking about, obviously there's going to be the things on the horizon, the uncontrollables, cat events, things like that. But just, being at the forefront of the technology and being able to, partner again, like with Coterie, where we're really looking at these things and thinking about, how can we not only, write insurance more intelligently, but then how can we then enable agents and retail agents, those in the field, to really sell a quality product to their end customer. And so I think that it's great that you really hit on that. So just thinking about, kind of switching back to you and your business and everything. So what are your goals? Like, what are your day to day? What's the goals for yourself, for your team? What does that look like for you?
For my team, obviously we are in a business that we need to continue to grow our business. First and foremost, my particular role in all of this is to be able to provide those products, to always keep my ear to the ground, making sure that I have things for my team to sell. But beyond that, I'm entering a phase where I've been in the business 36 years. We need more youth in this business. And so I'm beginning to spend more of my time recruiting.
Okay.
You always have to be recruiting.
Yeah.
And recruiting of all different types of individuals.
Yes.
And so, we recruit from risk management schools, business schools, but the next phase is really taking a look at high school.
Yeah. I love that.
I think if there are a lot of kids, I call them kids, that are out there that are thinking about their future and stressing out over their future because they know they may not go to college. And so, if someone's not going to college, then in their minds, it probably limits them to what they could actually do in their career. And so every chance I get, I really talk to them about, you can absolutely do it if you have the drive.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I believe that if you're willing to put yourself out there, work hard, grind it out, you're going to be successful.
Yes.
And so that, again, that's what we tell people. And so that's really, my, next phase of my career is really looking at that.
That's incredible. I think that's great to, obviously working on your business, but then forward thinking about, the next generation and agree wholeheartedly, right? Like, I think that's such a unique perspective to know that, you have choices. You can go to college or not, but still have the ability to really drive and put the work in and have a successful career in this industry. And I think there's so many stories like that, and it just needs to be heard and maybe publicized a little bit more. But I love that you're, thinking about high school even that young, because really, in 2024, there are a lot of options, but then there might still be that sort of limitation where some, young ones think that they do have to go to this college and get that education. So I think that's great that you have that perspective. So that's awesome. Well, I've really enjoyed the conversation. I love to end it on a fun note, though, and ask you, I mean, you've mentioned 36 years of experience. I'm sure you've gone to probably tons of insurance events, conferences, things like that. Like, any really fun experience that stood out to you over the course of your career?
Wow, there's been so many of them. I would say that I had the opportunity with one of our carrier partners to go to Ireland that I went on. But, again, there's so many different things that you attend. I think if you take something away from each and every one of them, maybe it's not obviously a trip to Ireland, but whether it be we attend WSIA, which is a big surplus lines industry, but all the way down to just the normal state conventions that we attend. I take something away from every single one of them because we're really meeting with our agents, meeting with our customers, and listening to what they have to say every single time we can get in front of them.
Yeah.
And you're meeting more people and that. So, I would say that, there's been many of them, but that's probably the one that sticks out in my
I love that.
mind the most.
Obviously very cool, but I agree. I think a lot of just the everyday, like, state conventions and events like that of course Coterie we like to attend. I've had a chance to attend a few in the past, and I think what surprised me is agents are a lot of fun. Like they're, they can have
Yeah.
a ton of fun, come from so many different, diverse backgrounds. And I think it's just really cool, like to your point, just to put yourself out there. So, anyone that's listening and you're kind of, apprehensive, just sign up for an event. It could be even local, like in your community, and go to an event, and you'll find yourself really surprised. And then how easy it is then to build that community upon like once you've already started to make those connections. So I love that you shared that, John. Thank you. Well, again, thanks, John, for joining
Thank
today.
you for the opportunity.
We really love having the partnership with Bracefield and just appreciate you sharing your expertise with our audience.
It's the best solution for their small commercial book of business. Check out our producer's resources page by clicking the link in the show notes below.